Hello friends, Baltmatrix here, and today we are taking a look at Transformers Studio Series number 12, Voyager-class Brawl. This guy just arrived from way over in Robot Kingdom. Let's take a look at him in a 360-degree turn. You can see that on the back, well, he's not exactly a looker from the back. But from the front, he looks quite nice. The detailing is good. Unfortunately, there are only 3 colors to this figure: green, darker green, and silver. That head sculpt is quite nice. There's a lot of incredible molding going on in this face sculpt and head sculpt. It really does look like the top of a turret just kind of expanded into a giant robot head. There's no light piping, but I don't really care because, quite frankly, it's really, really well detailed. And let's face it, you can't really see that much detailing from too far away. The figure comes with a couple of accessories, 2 mortar launchers here on these ball joints up here, and then each arm is mounted with a minigun and claw on the one arm, and another quad mortar launcher on the other arm. They are able to come off easily, they're just kind of pegged in there, and each one has a handle that is painted in green, while the rest of it is silver, and can be wielded by the robot mode in its hands, like that. Height-wise, Brawl does kind of scale somewhere between a current Deluxe class figure and a current Voyager class figure. Unfortunately, well, he's definitely smaller than a Leader class figure, with Blackout back there, and he's actually a lot smaller than Megatron. Now, Megatron is somewhere else. My kid took him and hid him. I'm going to find him later. Bad son. Anyway, not a huge figure, even for Voyager class. It feels tiny, but it really isn't. It's just so kibbly and bulky compared to all the other figures. It's an odd aesthetic choice. Actually, no, it isn't. That's pretty much the movie line in a nutshell. Now, I will freely admit that the figure from the back looks atrocious. I mean, there's no substance there. They literally carved out everything that makes the figure, substantial. But I'm okay with it. I could deal with it because the figure is actually really something neat. I'm rather surprised because I was not prepared to like this guy at all. I think the coloring is just about perfect. The different greens and the silver work incredibly well. It's going to turn into a tank. You kind of have a feeling about that. And the posability is pretty good, if not weird. Head does not look up and down much, but can swivel side to side. Shoulders articulate in and out, forward and back. Elbows, which are located where an elbow should be, there is a swivel just above that. And then an elbow just below another hinge, which allows in and out movement. The cow catchers in the front are articulated on ball joints. The hips are swivels right inside the hip. On the outside of the hip is a pin that moves in and out. Thigh swivel is incredibly tight. I'm not going to stress it because I'm afraid it's going to break. It has a knee that snaps in and out, bends at 90 degrees. No real foot articulation to speak of. It does have the transforming part of the foot, which flips it forward up into the shin. So you can pull off some decent poses, except every time I try to pose him, the giant turret that's sticking off his butt gets in the way. Also, the figure is not that strong in the pins on the legs that move in and out, so derp. So that can probably be tightened up with a bit of floor polish, but I'm not sure. I will have to do that and report back at some point. So yes, you can pose the figure. It's just really odd to try and pose it. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get into the transformation, and this is going to be the bulk of the review because this transformation is nuts. It's really cool, but it's nuts. Okay, to start off with, we're going to come to the front of the figure and turn the cattle catchers, or the cow pushers, so that they're pointing away from the figure, and then these little green pieces that are behind them, flip them down, grab the head, unpeg it from the body, fold it forward, flip the head down into the chest section, and then take the sides and flip them up, covering the head like that. Next, turn the figure around and take the sections that had the mortar cannons on them and fold them down into the turret and snap them into place. and then take the entire turret section, flip it up, and fold it out like that, away from the figure. Turn the figure around, grab the shoulders, unpeg them from just by the treads, and then fold them back and leave them there for right now. Then we could come to the treads and kind of wiggle them out. Now that we've got the treads where they are, we could take the entire rear section and turn it 180 degrees, and things will just clack against it. That's fine. Then we could take the treads, and they are pointing in like this. We could fold them out, grab the section that's behind the head and flip it up, peg it into place. Take the cattle catchers and flip them up and peg them into their little pegs like that. And then take the entire head section, flip that up, fold it out a little bit on this double hinge, and then these sections that are on the sides of the heads will peg into those 2 peg holes back there, like that. So now that we have the hands sticking straight out, fold the entire shoulder down, flip the panel that's behind the forearm around, and then we want to collapse it underneath this turret like this, and peg it into place at the tip or the bottom of the barrel of the big turret, like so. It is a little bit tricky to get everything lined up. So again, fold it down, flip it around, and then just kind of fold it and work it until we could get it pegged in together like that. And we've formed the top of the turret, and then there are these 2 little pegs underneath the top turret, and they will peg into little peg holes right here, like that. There we go. And finally, we could do the legs. Come back to what was the front of the figure. Turn the legs 90 degrees so that the toes are pointing in. Unpeg the toes from the back armor of the heels. Fold the toes up into the shins, remembering to take this little piece and flip it out, because if you don't, you won't be able to finish the transformation. And that little piece pegs into the bottom of the other heel, like that. Then we could come to the armor pieces, flip it out, and then fold it up over top the tank treads, like that, and peg them into place. Do that again over here, just like that. Flip it up, peg it into place. And here we have the completed tank mode that is admittedly a little weird. I'll be the first to admit I love this tank mode. I think this tank mode is simply fantastic. I haven't added the other components yet, which are just the weapons onto the top, but we'll do that in a minute. Unfortunately, because of the way the tank mode transforms, and I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong yet, the rear of the tank mode sticks straight up. But if you push that part down a little bit, or just come to the front and unpeg it, then you get a more realistic laying of the turret section for the tank. It feels like these sections where the silver is should fit underneath the armor bits in the back, but they don't. And it also feels like the entire tank's, or I should say barrel section, is supposed to lift up somehow, but I haven't been able to figure out a way for it to do that. It also doesn't help that the directions are terrible. They are that typical Power of the Primes, Titans Returns directions, where you've got this dark purple on gray that just doesn't work. It's so difficult to see what's going on, especially with this figure and Megatron. Fully armored up in tank mode, you could see that he still looks pretty cool. A little bit overcompensating, but cool. Now, in this mode, he is roughly, well, even with the guns, roughly the same size as a Legends class figure, as you could see. I still think he's neat. He compacts down into a very small tank that is just bonkers armed. Okay, now negatives. Obviously, the guns, it's a little overkill. The turret doesn't move, but you can unpeg the top turret, and it can then swivel side to side. I don't remember the turret actually moving in the movie, but I don't remember that. Anyway, it does do a full 360 degree, and it can even lift up a little bit from the main turret, so that is cool. The other major issue I have is these ball joints that are holding on these mortars. They're not very strong at all, and these guys have a tendency to pop off very easily. That's why I remove them for the transformation. Overall, I think Brawl is a winner. I really do. I'm surprised as anybody. I did not know what to think of this guy when I first saw him or first saw pictures of him. Well, actually, I thought, oh, really, another Brawl? Do we really need another one? Turns out we kind of do. Yeah. Okay, there are some flaws. The pins in the legs, way too loose. And let's face it, there's not a whole lot of substance for the limbs. That's really a problem. But overall, it's a good figure. It's got a very interesting transformation. It's surprising in all the right ways. It really, really is. I'm taken aback. I really am. I did not expect to like this figure at all, in the least bit. And that's probably the most surprising thing for me. Transformation is fun, if a little bit frustrating in parts, especially the first time you do it. Because as you saw, those directions are not easy to read at all. But once you figure out where things go, and there is a logic to it that is kind of hidden at first, especially with the arms and the turrets. I don't know how many times I reshot that little bit for this video. It all works. It all just works, and it works well. And as I said, there are flaws to the figure. This isn't a flawless figure by any stretch, but it's a fun figure. And that's something that I find that the Studio Series is the best at. It took the Michael Bay designs, or the Bayverse designs, and for the most part, in the Voyager and the Leader class figures, made them fun. And let's face it, a lot of these figures, for the longest time, were not fun. Thank you so much for watching this video review. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think of the figure down in the comments. Hit that like button and give me a subscription if you loved the video. Also, do me a favor, hit the notification bell down by the subscribe button. That way you'll get notified whenever there's a new video review, and hopefully it will show up in your feed or in your subscription list, because, you know, YouTube likes to screw with us with those things. As always, I've been Baltmatrix. Again, thank you for watching the video, and I'll catch you next time.